So it's really interesting because, you know, hearing the live performance that you guys did, it's kind of unique that you actually really do capture a lot of the guitar with only acoustic. And your lyrics are so much more, like, I think, stronger with the acoustic. That's the one thing. It's not layered as much with the electric guitar. But what kind of reached me about it was, like, the emotion kind of is there as well, and you kind of replicate that perfectly, which is kind of weird because the songs are completely different with acoustic. But so
that's the weird thing, because they're not really that different for us, because
really,
the first incarnation of it was us writing on acoustic guitars anyway.
That's how we write. How we were just sat there, pretty much.
Right.
The first steps of a song is what you just saw.
And then we'll build on that later on, because we've all got our own different sounds. We can't, we don't really want to release an acoustic record,
right?
Yeah. I was thinking about doing Unplugged actually a couple of hours ago. I was thinking, it seems like so much hard work. You get orchestras in and all this, and it could go so easily badly.
Well, yeah, but you guys, I mean, it's so good. It was just excellent, just to hear that in its purest form. It seemed like it took the song down to its basic. As well.
For us, that. I hope that means that's in the songwriting. I think any good song you should be able to strip down to that and be able to do that with, be it ours or anyone else's. But so I mean that's lovely for you to say. But for us, it's easy to go back to doing it because it's how they started in the first place. It's kind of the two ends of the spectrum. What you see on stage or listen to on an album is the end product of that we just sat on those stools and played for you.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what would you consider your influences from the band? There's a lot in there, but
the bands that we listened to when we met were things like the Strokes and Elbow, and watching the Walkman and things like that. I mean, I've touched on my love of REM, and we both kind of fell in love with guitar music because of the Britpop thing. We were 13 in '94 when Definitely Maybe came out, and I think Chris had caught the Stone Roses bug slightly before that. Being in England at that time was incredibly exciting, so that made me want to pick up the guitar in the first place. But as for as much bands and musical kind of waves that have touched us and moved us in any way, we're also a product of our environment, and that the record, people kind of go on about how dark it is, and the time we spent in Birmingham trying to get a record deal, which seemed to go on forever. It went on for over a year and a half. We were working day jobs, living in this kind of very unromantic town, very bleak.
Right.
Birmingham's a place that doesn't really have it's not like a London or a Liverpool or a Manchester. It's never had really something that you can kind of hold or tangibly grasp. So that was a long, dark time, and I think the frustration and the darkness on the record comes from that.
Right.
But equally, the optimism and the romance comes from the hope of getting out of that, I think. So,
was there a reason you guys decided to stay in Birmingham?
It was
we wanted to. Just our managers were based there. That was the reason why we moved there, because we were at university. We were about half-hour drive away from it. We were kind of in between Birmingham and Manchester in this little village that we were studying at for 3 years. And we used to do shows kind of down in Birmingham, just in little venues and stuff. And one of the venues that we used to play at a lot was run by who are now our managers. So they kind of convinced us to go away to Birmingham. So for numerous reasons. I mean, one of them mainly to be close to management. I mean, the second one, as much against our social lives, was to go there because we needed to be sheltered away from the music industry. Because we clearly weren't ready, but we were starting to get A&R people on our backs and wanting to see us, and that's a classic thing in the UK that which is different from when you're in America. I mean, a lot of bands in America get signed and then locked away for a good year, sent off on tour doing the toilet venues and getting really good and writing and stuff. And in America, in the UK, sorry. Sort of press and A&R get on you before you're even signed a lot of the times, and it can be, you can implode because of that. Sometimes you can't help it, but we tried everything that we could to get as good as we can before we had a record out.
So why would you implode if you get some press on?
I think it's just, again, it's too much too soon, and people expect too much of you, and it's just a classic thing of looking at some NME basically, and putting on bands on the cover before they've even had a record out. You know, sometimes before they even got signed, you know, they'll be all over NME. I mean, and you just have to look at those bands and see where they are now, and they've really struggled. I mean, just look at the others who are without a record deal. They were on the cover. I mean, the 2220s were in NME loads before they even got a record deal, and I was kind of worried for them because, you know, I saw them a couple of times and I thought they were a great band, but, you know, they needed another 6 months, and, you know, they've now split up. So
even look at a band like The Bravery in the UK. You know, the way that the press jumped on that band, and they were everywhere, and people hadn't heard a record yet, and then they heard one single, a great single. And, you know, my opinion of The Bravery is irrelevant to how their story goes. You know, they were the flavour of the month, you know, for more than a month, for a little while, and then less than a year later, you know, they're up in the NME Awards, you know, up in the worst band category. You know, that's only because people have got sick of them, and people kind of almost forgotten why they liked them in the first place, I think. And
it's a classic myth in British rock and roll music that happens anyway, and it's something that you've got to be wary of.
Right. Well, how do you fight that?
How do you fight that? You do things like what we released. We signed to an indie label. We released a limited edition first single. You know, there was a bit of press that we thought wasn't a good idea, and, you know, there's certain ways we conducted ourselves, you know, out and about and stuff. And, you know, we still lived in Birmingham for the first year as well, which kind of, you know, which means that we weren't out partying at the local hangouts in London and stuff. We were doing our own thing, always doing our own thing, and that's, you know, that's how we got our reputation. That's, you know, why there's a lot of bands that come up to us in the UK now, and just, you know, it's just an amazing compliment when bands come up to you and say, we love the way you've done it, you know.
Right.
It seems like, in the UK, the success we have now has been a result of touring and hard work, and never really talking about anything other than the music. Right. Certain bands are good at playing the press game and selling a story, and we've never been very good at that. And some people tag us as being a bit boring or being dark and moody, but we just don't. You know, it's not what we're about. It's not part of what we're made of.
So when it finally does happen and NME happens and the press comes down, what kind of change is that for you guys?
I don't know. It's strange because you're on the move so much. So since it was crazy, when the record went back into when the record went into the top 10 after, you know, it's been released for 6 months, which is very rare to happen. We weren't anywhere. You know, I think we were in America, and then we were in Europe for a month, and we went back home for a bit, and our sights are now firmly set on the States for the next 6 weeks at least, and the rest of the year if it goes well. And we're very aware that we're going back in time a year now and starting where we started last year in the UK. You know, our record's not been released here. People, you know, no one's really seen us play live. There are a few people with the internet and with the way the world works now that know our songs, but generally, no one knows who we are. And we're very aware that we have to put in hard work and spend time here and tour and get our message across before we get any rewards, which we're prepared to do and which we're starting to do now. But I don't know. You never kind of focus on the. I mean, it's very nice, and you stop yourself to pinch yourself and look around when you know. I don't know. We've sold out 3 nights at Brixton Academy, which is like, it's probably one of the most prestigious venues in London. It's a big venue, and you think about it, you think, oh, that's crazy, but then you also think about the next thing, which is playing to 200 people in wherever you are in the States.
Right.
So.
And you're always looking ahead to Earl's Court as well, which is, you know, the next step. You know, you're always thinking thinking ahead.
So we never get carried away with it, you know.
Right.
We also know
you can't. I don't think we're really that type of band as well. I mean, a lot of the times the bands that get carried away with it, it's just the hype that's around them, whether it be their fans or their friends or you know, all the magazines that kind of get them to get on that kind of hype machine. And we've never really had that anyway. We're not seen as kind of rock stars anyway.
Right.
No, we're very much
musicians more than rock stars.
Yeah.
Your material is kind of like a little darker and more so than your normal British pop band that might be on the top of the pops.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing for us. Like, to think. I was looking at the radio and playlist the other day, and this single we got at the moment is the first song we've ever had on the A-list. And you look down the A-list and at the bands that we're amongst, and you just think, we're so far removed from any of those bands.
What are we doing? Yeah.
How it's amazing. Is
that Munich? Proud. Is that the song that's in there?
At the moment, it's all Sparks.
Sparks. Okay.
I think people like that though. You know, the people. That's the reason why we've done so well in the UK. I think because a lot of people can look through all the crap that's going on around here and then just saying, "Oh, we're kind of very much a band of the people." Anyway, that's like a band that's never lost their integrity, and you know, people like something like that. You know, dark bands have always been sort of quite popular with the people as well. You know, kind of like cross generations as well. Sort of like kind of football fans and sports fans all the way through to sort of intellectuals and stuff.
So how do you guys write? Where does this start?
It generally starts. That's a nice cool breeze. It generally starts with me just writing the very bare bones of a song on an acoustic guitar or on a keyboard or piano, and recording a very basic demo and sending it out to the other three. We'll all have our ideas, and then normally me and Chris will meet up, possibly with Russell, with the bass player, to get some idea, and then we'll get into the rehearsal room and just think through these and jam through these ideas. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And we're very much a democracy, and we listen to each and everyone's opinions. So simply, you could say the music's by the band and the words are by me, but it's very much a four-way thing.
Interesting. Yeah. And where do you get your ideas for some of the subjects with it?
I mean, all the words in all the songs are, I've never been interested by telling, specific stories or, deep kind of documenting events that have happened to me. Not interested in people finding that or think that people will be interested in knowing that, to be honest. The words are an attempt to, touch or connect with people on certain levels. And yes, they're about the bigger things, love and life and things like that. But at the same time, they are fairly ambiguous in places, and I like people to be able to, we touched on Michael Stipe's lyrics, the way they kind of, you conjure up imagery and stuff, and they're kind of words as pictures in some respects, and I like that idea as well. With every song, there'll be two or three lines that mean something fairly specific. But it's happened to me, or someone I've seen, or people around me, or a way I've felt, or someone else has felt at a certain point in time. But then I often disguise that,
It seems like you also try to reach a mood with a lot of your lyrics.
I think we do that with the music as well,
They match, definitely.
Yeah, very much about, there's two sides to what we do. There's the very kind of immediate things, and we like the way playing songs like Munich and All Sparks, the way that makes an audience feel, and the way you feel when you're playing that to an audience, and you can see the response. And then there's songs on the record like Camera and Distance, and that are a bit slower and a bit more kind of progressive, and they take the time and they go somewhere. I think that's probably the elbow rubbing off on us. And we like the way that makes us feel as well. So I think it's combining those two things, and then with the words that are, I don't know, people, that's with an attempt to kind of touch people and be a bit deeper than say lyrics about me going down to the pub buying a packet of crisps and a pint. That's what all those things goes around our head when we're making records.
How long are you guys touring the States for?
I think we're next 6 weeks. And it's our first proper US tour, so kind of proper road trip on the big American bus, and start South by Southwest and then go everywhere, including Canada, and
it's 40 shows.
The whole cover. Yeah, it's 40 shows in 6 weeks.
Wow.
So if we're tired now, then God help us, So we were going to go straight to Australia, then straight to Japan, and straight to the UK again. And then we thought, it's probably best to try and stay alive. So we decided to cancel Australia, and just technically we've got a week off, but not doing gigs, but I'm sure it'll be full of promo and all this TV shows and stuff. But at least, sometimes you just need a little break from gigs anyway, and you can just recharge your batteries and get that hunger back.
And the record just came out in the States a while ago?
It comes out in a week or two, I think. 21st, is it?
Yeah, 21st.
And we're coming back again. We'll be back probably numerous times, but the next thing in the calendar after the 6 weeks is Lollapalooza, which I've heard a lot of things about, which sounds like a lot of fun.
Right, Chicago in July.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah,
kind of warm.
So we're very excited about that. And I said before, if things start to go well for us here, we'll be spending a lot of time here. I think we have something in our music that traditionally American audiences, with some other bands, I think we have things in common with bands like The Cure, Depeche Mode, Radiohead, even Coldplay to some extent, and some things what we do. The American audiences traditionally have got. You look at a lot of bands that come over the UK, new bands, Arctic Monkeys, Block Party, whatever. They're brilliant bands, but I don't know how well they go down with American audiences. I just think there's something that people get here about us.
Well, why do you think they won't go over as well with American audiences?
I don't know. I think a lot of the Arctic Monkeys are very, very, very British in the lyrics, even though they're singing in their native tongue. I think we're a lot more universal. I don't think that's not a bad, good or a bad thing. That's just what they do. I think we unashamedly write big songs with big choruses, and like I said, traditionally, bands from the UK that kind of darker, doing that kind of thing, have gone down well in America. So I'm intrigued to see how well we'll do.
And then after this, another record sooner or later?
We have a handful of songs ready to go.
Yeah, that's the plan anyway. We've kind of provisionally booked off September and December to record it anyway. Mm-hmm. As far as writing goes, we're kind of working on it. We've been playing 2 new songs, which we wrote over Christmas, which we're playing on the UK tour and the European tour earlier on in the year, and which we're really happy with. We just need to start demoing these with the various producers, so we're just talking to producers at the moment, trying to get some demos done, trying to work with people and see. It's a big decision, who's going to work your next record.
Right. Who did your first record?
There was a guy called Jim Abbas, who he did stuff that really intrigued me, sort of like the stuff that he did with Kasabian and Bjork and Ladytron, Uncle and DJ Shadow, sort of very kind of left field, kind of dance music, and also kind of like you can make rock and roll records as well. He's just finished he's just done the Arctic Monkeys album, just done the second Kasabian record, so yeah, again, it's just stuff that he loves, and it's kind of, he had that dance music thing going on as well, and there was kind of Noses electronics, and yeah, he helped us out in a lot of ways.
What I'd love is for the next record to come out at the same time everywhere, because obviously our records come out in America now, and these songs are old for us, very old, and they're very new for American audiences.
How old is the songs?
So I mean, some of them, I think Bullets is pretty old. Bullets and Fall go back to
3 years, maybe 2-3 years.
Yeah, but just that we've been playing them every night for the last year,
right? And
now we have to play them every night for the next year here, which is, I mean, it's fine. I mean, I'm just a minor gripe, but it would be nice if the second record comes out at the same time everywhere.
Right.
It is weird when you think about it that we play a song in soundcheck and we play a song in a gig and probably record it a few times as well and do acoustic sessions and all this. I'm just thinking that one of these songs we could have played 500 times last year.
Yeah.
And if you think about it that way, it's just Jesus.
Well, how do you keep it fresh when you have to play a song for 3-4 years?
I don't know. I can't believe I'm not bored of it. It's really weird when you put it like that and you hear a record on the radio and it's on the A list and you hear it for 2 days and you get sick of it straight away. Don't know. Never get bored of hearing my own voice or
my own guitar sound.
This is Stephanie Benson with Rhapsody, and I'm talking to Tom Smith of The Editors. And where are you calling from right now?
We're in LA.
Okay.
What did we do? We were doing a video in New York at the weekend. We flew in yesterday to do some press, like talking to your lovely self, for a little while, doing Jimmy Kimmel, is that his name?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, and yeah, just a little stop just to talk to people and say a quick hi before we come back again in September to play some shows and do proper things.
So what video were you working on?
For the next single, which is the title track from the album, the second song on the record, which it's kind of our attempt at making a pop song, I guess.
Yeah.
It's big melodies and kind of in your face, and the video, there are dancing girls, which is different. We've made lots of, which is great. Kind of very moody and chin-strokey videos, I guess, which is obviously a lot of what we're about. But with this, we're just like, for us, this is a fun song. This is a pop song. Let's try and make a video that will surprise people slightly. And I haven't seen it yet, but I'll see it at the end of the week. I'm kind of nervous and excited. Which is a good way to be. How
do you like shooting videos?
It's part of the job.
Yeah.
It was a long day. I like in music videos. It's someone else's artistic vision for our song. It's their idea for on hearing one of our songs, and that's amazing. To have someone come up with an idea around what you've done. So I mean, if it was left to us to do videos, they'd be terrible. So I appreciate that they can be amazing. Some amazing videos have been made, but the actual physical process of making them is early mornings, late nights, and miming to the song over and over and over again normally.
Yeah.
But it's, we're part of the machine. And we're part of that. Yeah.
I know you get compared over and over to Joy Division. And you're actually about the same age as I am, and I had never heard of Joy Division until, a few years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm just wondering, how do you feel about those comparisons? Because they probably didn't really hit you until, you started hearing that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. I can see similarities, of course, and in some of the things we do, and some of the aspects of our music is there are similar qualities that are shared by that band, and but like you said, they didn't influence us. You know, they're not the reason why we picked up the guitars and tried to make songs. Honestly, they've had absolutely no effect on us whatsoever. But you know, I don't mind the fact there's some kind of similarity there, and there's an intensity to what we do, and obviously there was a massive intensity to what they did, and it was the constant kind of comparisons or whatever, it's just boring.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, boring. That'll do.
So going on that, what are some of your main influences besides like REM and Oasis?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I wouldn't really describe Oasis as... Well, I suppose there must have been an influence. It must have, but of course they've had an influence on us then. But what am I talking about? I mean, REM, the one band that kind of that would come to my head first. But you know, as we got older, and you know, when we met, and you know, when we were 18, 19, when we started going to university or whatever, and I don't know, things like the Strokes were out, and Elbow, and Radiohead are one of the best bands ever. You know, I started with things like Oasis and the Britpop era, and yes, it had an effect on me and it changed me, but I started to stop getting anything from the music. You know, I wanted something, whatever that is, I wanted something that was a bit, I don't know if it has more depth. I don't know. To me, it had more depth, you know. And you know, I mentioned REM, but then also, you know, Radiohead, the Bends, and OK Computer. You know, when that came out, that changed things again for me. I realised that, you know, you have songs that are just, you know, verse, chorus, and they can be great melodically, they can be exciting. But when you listen to OK Computer, there's more there, and for whatever reason, it's just, it's like listening to, you know, something, the world changing.
Does everyone in the band have pretty similar music tastes?
There are things that we share. Yeah, there were things that we have in common. You know, be it Elbow or the Strokes or I don't know, Arcade Fire or the National. We love the National dearly. But there are also things that, you know, we you know, the ways we differ. You know, I think Russ and Ed, well, especially when they were younger, they grew up more kind of rock. Rock music was more in their lives than it was in my life. You know, be it Nirvana or a lot of American rock music, really, and then it never really got into my consciousness. And Chris equally, lots of dance music. It kind of takes up a lot of his life as well. And yeah, there were ways we differ and ways we don't.
If you had to listen to one album for the rest of your life, what do you think that would be? Oh God, that'd be torture, wouldn't it? I know, it really was.
No matter what the record was, no matter how good the record was, you'd end up killing yourself. It would be a toss up between Murmur and OK Computer, and it depends on what side of bed I woke up in the morning, which one I go for. I'm still in bed now, so I can't say no.
I know you guys all met at university, but where are you all from originally?
All from different parts of the country. So I'm from a place called Stroud, which is in Gloucestershire. Russell, who plays bass guitar, is from somewhere very close to Birmingham. Chris, the guitarist, is from Nottingham, and Ed, our drummer, is from Ipswich. So yeah, all scattered about, but we found each other eventually.
Yeah. What's Birmingham like? What's the music scene like there as well?
I mean, historically, you know, it doesn't really have a big kind of it doesn't have what Manchester had, or Liverpool, or, you know, London, obviously, or even things, I suppose even Glasgow. You know, you can't have a big musical heritage. The things that have come out of Birmingham in the past have, I don't know, Ozzy Osbourne, what are they called? Duran Duran, UB40. You know, just, I don't know, they have nothing in common with each other. It doesn't have, it's never had a kind of scene. So, you know, but at the same time, it's the second biggest town in England. It's huge. There's, culturally, there are so many different types of people there. There's so many, you know, things going on. It's a real melting pot, and I love it for that. I love the way that there are so many different types of people living side by side in this big, to be honest, ugly town in the middle of England. But the way that, because there are so many different types of people there, there are so many different things going on. Maybe that's why there's not been one type of music that's come out more than any others. You know, but in a lot of ways, that's what's great about our, you know, the world, the modern world we live in now, is that different types of people living up against each other. But you know, when we were living there, when we were, you know, working in the day in our jobs to pay rent, so we could work on the band in the evening. The place was suffocating, and it felt like, you know, we just tried to escape, really, and it felt kind of, I don't know, it had an effect on the music we were making, really. It felt kind of, you know, I mentioned, you know, the claustrophobic nature of it, or, you know, the kind of spark, or kind of coldness that the record had, might have come from Birmingham because of that. But since going back there, you know, the band we still rehearse there as a band. You know, that's what, you know, since the last few months when we've been rehearsing there. I don't know, I've loved the place. It's brilliant. There's a real buzz in the air at the moment. Maybe there's been a couple of bands recently that have come from there that are making some kind of headlines in certain papers, and the place feels, you know, for someone in a band, there's loads of new bands there and loads of people making records, and yeah, great. I love it to bits. Better than London.
Is it?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't live there, but yeah.
Yeah. How do audiences in the UK differ from American audiences and also elsewhere around the world?
Well, you know, we're from England. You know, it's our home. Because of that, we've toured there more than we've toured anywhere else. And yes, so the audiences are bigger there, and, you know, I guess, I don't know. We haven't been everywhere else so much. Yeah, it's hard to compare, because to make any kind of mark anywhere, you have to spend time there, and America even more so. We love coming to play here. You know, we love touring here. We have a lot of fun. But because we've not been here so much, the audiences, you know, they're smaller, or they can be more subdued, and that's fine. You know, I don't mind that. But I'm sure, if you were given time here, you know, the audiences would be more similar to what we experience when we play in, you know, Birmingham or wherever. The maddest audience, you know, the one that makes you kind of think, fucking hell, well, this is a totally different type of people to play to, is when you play in Japan.
Oh yeah.
Because you know, culturally they're very different, and they're you know, for a band, you know, Western rock and roll music to play in Japan, you know, it's a very different group of people, but they still like aspects of our culture, you know, indie music or whatever, but they're also very protective of their own culture, and so they have the differences as well. So they're very polite as an audience. There's a level of respect there. They won't really talk in between songs. You know, when you play anywhere else in the world, you can hear people at the bar in between songs. You know, when there's that bit of silence, you can hear people talking. But in Japan, they won't. Maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's a respect thing, but they're very much attentive, and they clap immediately after the song for a short period of time, and they kind of holler, and then it'll go kind of quiet, and they'll wait for you to do what you're about to do, and that's startling. You know, it's very different, very foreign. You feel very foreign, but that's great. You know, again, that's one brilliant experience.
I guess just one last question. You're probably touring tons right now. What can we expect from you guys in the future? What do you plan on doing next?
I mean, right now, you know, this record's just coming out, and so it's festival time, I guess, and we're doing a few festivals, and we'll come back in September to tour properly in the States, and we'll come again before Christmas, and then 2008, I think the plan is to spend quite a lot of time here, so you'll be sick of us. But what can you expect in the future? I don't know. It's unknown. Yeah. You know, when as a live band, when we play live, you know, it's so important for what we do. it's important that people can see your faces when you play the songs. They can see how much you mean it. They can see how passionate we are about it. And maybe for some people they need to see us live before it really clicks. And we enjoy it playing live. It's the ultimate expression of what is, what we consider to be our art. Some people might think it's absolute bollocks, and that's totally fine. But for us, it's important and it means a lot. So to get on stage and play it for people is important too. But as far creatively where we're going to go in the future, we'll see. I think with this record, there are a few places we could go. I love the way that I think we could. If we wanted, it wouldn't be strange for us to make a more acoustic sounding record. It wouldn't be strange for us to make a kind of more synthetic, almost kind of, I don't know, dance orientated record. We'll see. Hopefully we'll move. We'll go somewhere with the next record, step forward slightly, and surprise people. But we'll see.
Okay.
It'll probably just be the same old bollocks over and over again.
No. All right. Well, good luck to you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate the conversation.
No worries.
All right.
Cool. Have a good day.
Yeah, you too.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Could you just describe your newest album, And End Has a Start?
I'll do my best. I can kind of describe it by referring to our last record. That's the easiest way for me to do it. Mm-hmm. The back room was kind of claustrophobic. We did it very quickly. The sound of a band in a room playing, as debut should be, playing the best 10 or 11 songs. And in places on that record, we tried to try new things, but predominantly it's just us playing, two guitars, bass, and drums, and playing our songs. This record is the same band, same four people, but trying to try new things, trying to push themselves. Mm-hmm. We don't want to just make the Backroom Part 2. We wanted to step forward, wherever that is too. I don't know where that is, but to move somewhere. So there are more instruments, very basically, on the record. We be it a piano or acoustic guitar or some strange synths, or the idea of using a choir, or we didn't have any boundaries in our heads when we were trying to figure out what the songs were going to sound like.
Mm-hmm. And talking about the choir and smokers outside the hospital doors, who's a part of the choir, and what was kind of your idea behind that? Yeah,
I mean, as soon as we started recording that song and its kind of personality started to reveal itself to us, and it had this almost arrogance kind of air of importance, the big major chords, which is something we've never done before, kind of wall of sound, and I don't know, we realised that melody worked over the end, and we wanted the song to somehow move up a gear, and we thought, well, let's get loads of people, just singing at the end that melody, and we didn't want some kind of polished, perfect choir. We didn't want, some cliched Sister Act-esque choir. We wanted our friends to sing on it, and it was just everyone that was in the studio. So it was us and the engineers, and we had some friends visiting as well that weekend, and it was, let's just get everyone in and sing and see if it works, and if it's rubbish, we'll take it off. But it worked.
Well, you have some friends that are good singers then, huh?
Well, yeah. But it's not too polished, though, but they can carry a tune.
Uh-huh. I know that two of the tracks, The Weight of the World and Bones, were both kind of regulars in your live set. Did you get really a great audience reaction from those, that you chose to put those on the new album? Yeah, I mean, they went down. They were going down very well immediately with audiences. I mean, because we started playing those songs. Well, I guess we were playing them for all of 2006, really. The shows that we did. So through to September when we stopped touring, and we were rubbish at writing on the road. Really terrible. We need space to, think or just take a bit of time out before ideas can grow, and. We managed to piece those songs together in a couple of weeks off we had over Christmas, before 2006, and so it was like, well, let's get playing them, and we knew they were going down well, and we also it was a great opportunity for us because we weren't totally sure about
Jack Knife-Lee if he was the right man for the job. We knew he really wanted to do the record, and we knew we loved what he did, but you never know, do you, until you try things. And we had those 2 songs, and very early on with this record, we just went into the studio and did them before the rest of the record was written, and just to make sure that our relationship with him was going to work. And in a lot of ways, those 2 songs kind of polarise this album. What we've tried to do. Bones is probably the most akin, most similar to where we've come from. Things that are on the back room, and Weight of the World is optimistic. It's pretty. It's a ballad. It's a slow song. It's more textured, and in a lot of ways, it's kind of the 2 sides of this record.
I saw on your bio just kind of a quote by you talking about the new album, and it says it's focused on the power of redemption and the human necessity for friendship and family in the face of death. So how does this record really reflect that?
There are a handful of songs on this record that do kind of that deal with or somehow touch on death, and very serious thing, obviously. I'm the lyricist, and the lyrics come from me. And for the last couple of years, there's been a couple of things in and around my life that have brought those thoughts closer in my mind than they've ever been before. It's inevitable as you get older. Things will happen every now and again that stop you in your tracks, and you think about life, I guess, your mortality or whatever. And so I couldn't stop those thoughts coming out in some of the songs on this album. But at the same time, when something like that happens in your life, given time, you kind of look around and you're forced to look at what you have, be it a relationship with someone or your friends, or a sense of making the most of what you have while you have it, basically. There is kind of positive to take out of that negative. You can appreciate what you have, and yeah.
So how does writing music help you get through situations like that?
I don't know. Maybe it helps. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if I wasn't doing it, maybe I just wouldn't think about it. Maybe it hinders. Maybe it's but I wouldn't change it. I have this kind of opportunity or way of releasing these thoughts into these songs. And maybe I get some kind of release from that. I don't know, but I don't know what I'd do if I didn't.
Yeah, I'm sure it's very cathartic of a process to do that.
But at the same time, I'm fully aware that lots of people might think it's absolute nonsense and absolute bollocks what I say, and that's totally fine. But it means something to me, and it comes from somewhere inside of me, and I can't. I wouldn't change that.
So do you often write more about what's going on in your own life, or just reaction to society? Where does your inspiration come from? It's
kind of it's a reaction to what goes on around me. Yeah, I try my best not to tell. Even though the inspiration or the experiences are kind of events that have happened inspire what ends up in the songs. I hope the songs aren't just specific stories or documenting the things that actually happened. I'm not interested in doing that. I prefer to just do things slightly differently. I'm not a storyteller, basically. I don't know what I am if I'm not a storyteller, but thought questions, and they don't have to make sense. Lyrics don't have to make. They don't have to have a start and an end. They don't have to join all the dots in between. They can stop. They can have images, and they can make you think, and they can they come from something, but it doesn't mean they have to. You shouldn't read them like you read a book. I think.
Right. What's the title mean to you? An end has a start.
When I was thinking, you didn't know what to call the album for a long time, and I was sat there with all the lyrics for all the songs and looking at them and thinking about trying to think where the songs come from and what they mean to me, and then the song "And End as a Start," that was the title for that song, and I just thought about that, and taking some kind of positive from something that's negative, basically, something that's scary and terrifying, and looking at or having that experience and looking at things slightly differently. I'm not trying to be profound. I'm trying my best not to sound like an idiot, but it just I don't know. It just seemed to make sense.
Yeah.
Looking at, like I said, appreciating what you have while you have it, and in light of something that's ultimately terrifying.
Anything you guys learned as a band from touring and your first time in the studio that helped you a lot the second time around?
Yeah, I guess you kind of learn something every time you get on stage. Playing so many shows, seeing what kind of reaction certain songs get from audiences, hearing the reaction of people playing certain types of songs, and you can't help but be affected by that. And with the first record, lots of people said, I like or love, or I have the back room. It's whatever it is. But when I see you play it live, for whatever reason it makes more sense. It seems it kind of jumps down my throat slightly more. And we tried to make this record a bit closer to what we like as a live band. It's bigger. It's more immediate in places, at least, because that's who we are.
I just want to mention the backroom remixes.
Okay.
I actually really enjoyed those. Do you plan on doing any new remixes in the future?
Yeah. Well, I talked to videos of someone else's visual idea or story behind on hearing one of our songs, and remixes are a way for people, other artists or whatever, to take a different spin on what you do, and they can be fun or shit or good, or I don't really have a kind of a point of reference to really critically evaluate them, but I know that people like them, and with this record there'll be more. We've got some done already of an end as a start, and some they're great, and different. It kind of crosses boundaries, I guess, as well. Putting rock music in a slightly different environment,
right,
can attract different people, I guess, and definitely there'll be more.
Do you have any artists in mind that you would love to have do a little remix?
Yeah, we really, really wanted the Pet Shop Boys to do one, but they charge a fucking fortune.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it was like, well, there's absolutely no way we're going to spend that much on a remix. But if they consider, I don't know if there's a January sale for remixes, but if they consider lowering their prices slightly, we'd love them to do one.
Wow. Well, that's cool. Well, good luck with that.
So thank you very much. Yeah.
I just want to go into a little bit of your influences. And I read a quote where you said the reason I started playing guitar was because of Definitely Maybe.
Yeah.
What was it about that album, and do you still listen to it?
I haven't listened to it for a while, but it was, when that came out, what was it? When did that come out? 94. I was 13, going on 14. A teenager trying to, up until that point, not really been interested or not to any more. Pop music was there and it was fun, but I'd never really been, music had never sparked something off inside of me that was more than just, background or whatever. And I remember that time when Definitely Maybe came out, and I don't know, it was everywhere in the UK, especially. It was like they were changing the world. It was like they were making songs. They were a band playing songs, but it was more than just music. It was. I don't know what it was, if it was more than music, but it was doing something more than songs had ever done before. It felt like they were important, and they were also just 4 or 5 guys that they're just a band. They're just guys that going out having a good time, but playing rock and roll music, and I don't know. To someone that's 13, that was just like, fuck, what the hell? That's what are they doing? That's unbelievable. And then so that at that point, that was like year zero for me. It was what is this? Rock music or indie music, whatever you want to call it. I started buying The End of Me, for example, and trying to find out about other new bands that were doing stuff, and And I went, very close to that. I discovered REM, and I went back to their early records and bought things like Murmur. That these records are out when I was 2 or 3 or whatever, and started listening to those things. And I picked up the guitar and tried to learn how to play the chords that made up Definitely Maybe in those songs. And yeah, it was where it all started.